Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My estranged brother, 34 male, and I, 37 male, haven't seen or contacted each other for over 4.5 years now. Over the last few weeks, my brother's wife, 34 female, has reached out to see if I would be willing to meet her for lunch. I initially declined and stated that I would consider it if my brother would be there. She replied that if I ever wished to have a relationship with my brother or 2 nephews, I should reconsider. My wife and parents eventually persuaded me to have lunch with her, as it may provide a chance at reconciliation with my brother. The lunch quickly pivoted to the topic of how I must be doing well, as she heard that I had taken my parents' and sister's family on vacation recently. She mentioned she was disappointed that her family wasn't invited, but that I could make it up to her by paying for a trip to Disney World for her family that was too expensive for them. I declined, thanked her for her time, and asked for the check from the waiter as she continued to state what a bad brother and uncle I was. Now I've been getting calls from some relatives telling me that I should have just paid for the trip for the chance to reconnect. But I don't believe that this is the right take. Some background information is that the estrangement began due to events surrounding my brother's wedding. In short, our families have different backgrounds and traditions, but a compromise was reached 6 months prior to the wedding, where 2 ceremonies would be held. None for my family's tradition, 1 Western, and 1 for the bride's tradition, with 2 changes being: 1. The dowry desired by the bride's family would be given privately during the morning ceremony for family by my parents to the bride's mom, rather than publicly during the reception for all attendees. 2. The bride's culture has a tradition where the groom, bride, and their parents request money from attendees during the reception. The agreement was that I would stand in for my parents for this, as the older brother and best man, since the bride's brother was doing the same for their estranged father. In short, the bride's mom eventually reconsiders 2 days before the wedding, which leads to my entire family aside from me being disinvited when my parents didn't concede to this. My brother then has a lengthy call with me that eventually leads to me being disinvited by his fiancée as well, when I mentioned that I believed that this was a communication issue and that no one was faultless. The wedding does go largely as planned eventually, with my family in attendance and me as a groomsman instead of the best man. But they go no contact with my family afterwards. I did have one final lunch with my brother after this, where he mentioned that he couldn't speak or meet with me anymore, as his wife believes that what I said was unforgivable. We continued talking about the past for a while longer, hugged, and said our final goodbyes. Am I the a-hole for not taking this chance for reconciliation, as some of my relatives suggest? Not the a-hole, and his wife is greedy, bossy, and mean. She's essentially extorting you. The nerve she has is brazen and very ugly. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law started this mess and now wants you to foot the bill for a vacation for her family, with the carrot dangling that she might consider a reconciliation. She sounds like a real piece of work. You dodged a bullet there. I'm sure there has been plenty of drama that you've missed with them being no contact. Keep it that way. Tell all the family that think you should foot the bill for their vacation that they are welcome to pay for it themselves. Not the a-hole. Your sister started this entire mess and is the one who continues it. I feel sorry for your brother. She told your brother that since your family wouldn't give her and her family money, he could no longer have contact with his family. What the duck? Now she wants you to pay for a Disney vacation they can't afford, and maybe she will allow her husband to have contact with his family? She is the problem. Don't pay for a vacation for that a-hole. I would, however, reach out to your brother privately and make sure he is okay. To give some context, my stepdaughter is 22. My significant other and I haven't seen stepdaughter in 9 years. When she was 11, she made up stuff about me and my significant other. We knew her mom was behind this because we had 50-50 custody, but had been paying child support like we only had stepdaughter every other weekend. After we had a few kids, significant other applied, and she had to end up paying him child support. Fighting the accusations and custody battles cost almost 6 figures in legal fees over the next 2 years, and I had to end up selling my house, which was my great-grandparents'. Selling my house meant I wasn't able to care for my ailing father, and had we not proved the accusations false, it could have resulted in us losing our children. At a therapy appointment, Stepdaughter told my significant other she would keep telling lies if he kept trying to take her from her mom. So he said, okay, contact him when she wants to have a relationship. The mom got what she wanted, child support until Stepdaughter was 18. We were all devastated. Significant other sent her birthday and Christmas presents, cards, and texts. But they moved, and we didn't know where and changed their numbers. Fast forward to now. 5 months ago, I won the lotto. Significant other and I aren't married and have separate finances due to him being bad with money and me entering the relationship with more assets and then having to sell my house for Stepdaughter. But I still take significant other's feelings into consideration with money. The money was a significant sum, but not rolling in money. Enough to put a good deposit on a house, deposits on cars, pay off debts, and put money into the kids' education, but still have mortgage, car payments, and bills. It's enough to set us up for life, as long as we still work full-time. If we're smart with it, we might be able to retire early. We hadn't heard from Stepdaughter or Mom in 9 years, apart from a message when a child support payment was 2 days late because significant other changed jobs. A week ago, Stepdaughter reached out to significant other over text. A couple of pleasantry texts, and then she said she heard we won the lotto and was surprised we hadn't contacted her yet to help provide for her. After a bit of awkward stepping around the topic, she brought it back up that she expects a deposit for a house for her and her mom. I've said absolutely not. Not only would that be as much or more than what our own kids would get, but I've already wasted a whole house on her and almost lost my kids and life. I don't want to give her a cent, and I want nothing to do with her. I admit, I still resent her for everything I had to sacrifice for her lies. My significant other agrees a house deposit is out of the question, but his mom and sister got angry at him. Now he thinks maybe we should give her a little bit. It wouldn't break the bank, but why would I give someone I don't like money when it could be used on my own family and those I love? My significant other's mom and sister are saying I'm an a-hole for not giving my estranged stepdaughter money. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She wanted to say lies to stay with her mom? Perfect. You are not part of her family, so you don't owe her crap. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't give her a cent. I realized she was just a kid then, but she's an adult now, never apologized, and only reached out when she heard you won the lotto. Duck her. Not the a-hole. What? You could better justify giving money to a stranger walking down the street than those evil folks. They're only money-grubbing leeches. After I separated from my husband, my best friend and I opened a bakery together. It's been just over a year, and our bakery isn't doing as well as either of us hoped, but we always seem to stay afloat due to a lucky order. In hindsight, knowing my husband, I should have seen this coming, but I was so happy to finally be doing something on my own that I completely ignored how convenient it was that every time we were doing particularly bad, our luck suddenly turned. I found out a week ago when my sister-in-law randomly asked if my bakery made wedding cakes. I haven't spoken to my in-laws or husband since we split up. As far as I was aware, they had no idea I was running a bakery. I asked a few questions, and she told me that she'd tested a few of our products and loved them. So, knowing how my husband is, it didn't take a genius to figure out all of those massive orders were from him. I was admittedly furious and not thinking clearly, so I called him as soon as I got off the phone with her. The first thing he said to me was, "Are you finally done sulking?" And I just lost it from there. I yelled at him for an hour. He tried to deny it at first, but eventually started justifying himself by saying I was his wife and I was being ungrateful and it wasn't a big deal. I am still mad at him, but when I told my best friend, she was angry at me and agreed with him. Now I feel bad and think I may have been an a-hole and took my disappointment at failing out on him. Am I the a-hole? Edit. It was suggested I add this here, so. We don't share financial ties, and yes, he likes to be in control of things. It's a problem because this is one of the reasons we separated. He knows I wanted to do something on my own, but he couldn't even let me fail on my own. My husband has a habit of letting you think you're doing something, but then quietly manipulating things behind the scenes. It's not a great feeling when you finally think you can do something on your own, be that fail or succeed, only to find out someone was pulling the strings all along in the background. Sorry, you're the a-hole. I completely appreciate the fact that this was on your own, separate from your ex. But is it really so terrible to have someone on your side? Even if the marriage didn't work out, you loved him enough to marry him at one time. You can like him enough to be a friend. Seems he wants to be that friend. Times are remarkably tough, especially for small businesses. He did a kind thing. Not the a-hole. What the duck, guys? This isn't a rom-com or romance novel where stalking is cute, and the guy is just being patient until the girl finally gets over herself and accepts that his love is worth being disrespected and manipulated. If he really wanted to help her business and maintain appropriate boundaries, he should have been honest about helping, not gone behind her back. The first thing he said to me was, "Are you finally done sulking?" This right here says he is a manipulative a-hole, and the OP was right to split with him. Sulking is what small children do, not adults, and suggesting the OP is sulking is demeaning and reveals a lot about his attitude towards her and their relationship. Firmly not the a-hole. I don't understand the "you're the a-hole" responses. I don't think these comments are looking at the nuance. You are not upset he saved your bakery. You're upset that he stomped on your boundaries. Obviously, estranged means that you don't want contact with him any more than necessary, and he deliberately manipulated the situation to do so. Now, even if the bakery stays afloat, you will be indebted to him. He had created a situation of power imbalance when you're likely just trying to strike out on your own. He disrespected your wishes. I understand your frustration. You're not the a-hole for getting angry with him for not letting you be. I hope your business turns around enough that you never have to deal with your husband ever again. I have a strained relationship with my mother. She left when I was 9 and remarried. After that, I was raised by my grandmother. Even though we lived in a small town, I never saw her or heard from my mother until I was 16. She had to show up so I could get my license. And then after that, I never saw her again until I was 27. Ran into each other at a restaurant. My mother did send me cards and gifts, but she never made any effort to be a mother to me and never apologized to me. I decided in my teen years to write her off, and that is what I've done. She has been completely excluded from my life and big events, other than what my grandmother relayed to her. My wife knows all of this, but she still sometimes talks to my mother. This started when we got pregnant. She wanted to reach out to my mother to let her know, even though I was against it. They started texting each other infrequently. I told my wife that this bothered me, but she thought it would be good and maybe it would be a chance for us to repair things. I didn't believe it would, but I could see she didn't care what I thought and was on a crusade to save us, so I let it go. We recently had some professional photos done of our son to give to family. My wife added a unique frame for each of the recipients. I had noticed that she had more than what I expected, and that is when she told me that she had bought one for my mother. I told her that under no circumstances would I ever allow her to have a photo of our son. But my wife argued with me and insisted that it would be better for our son if we gave her another chance. This made me so mad. The only thing I could think of was destroying the photos and frame. That is when I grabbed the ones meant for my mother, took them outside, and then threw them out into the street and then ripped up the pictures. My wife got upset with me and told me I was acting like a jerk and had no right to destroy the photos. I disagree. It is my business when it concerns my mother. She should have not overstepped. Am I the a-hole? Your wife is crossing boundaries in a major way and is behaving horribly. Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. She isn't even taking your childhood abandonment into account. It's your mom and your son. Not the a-hole. My husband has an estranged father, and I'm currently pregnant with our child. It has definitely occurred to me to reach out. I don't think it's fair that his father is missing out on his first grandchild. Am I reaching out? No. Am I sending photos? No. Because I respect my husband, even if I don't understand the dynamic myself. That's marriage, respecting the things that aren't your things and are out of your control. Not the a-hole. Some people might agree with your wife that you have a chance to repair the relationship and to give it a shot. But I myself had a very rough relationship with my own mother. I think that you need to do what's best for you, and your wife should respect that. It's your mother, not hers. If the roles were reversed, she would probably want you to follow her wishes as well. My in-laws either divorced or were in the process of divorcing. It was a really long drawn-out thing, and I lost track. We are no contact with mother-in-law due to how she treats me. We agreed in September to spend Christmas with father-in-law so he wouldn't be alone, which means a 2-hour drive. We didn't confirm plans closer to Christmas, which might be our bad. When we got there, we knocked and he didn't answer, so we let ourselves in. There were a few gifts out on the floor, no tree, and all the lights were off. I felt uncomfortable, but my husband said he was probably sleeping and we should let him sleep. I just assumed the gifts were for the kids and told them to go ahead. Father-in-law is a really laid-back guy and wouldn't care. But they opened the first one and it was a Tiffany's box, so I realized we might have messed up by touching the gifts. I kind of low-key hoped they were for us, but put it back. Then, no-contact mother-in-law came down half-dressed and started being like, "What the duck? How did you get in the house?" I was totally shocked, and my husband was uncomfortable. Father-in-law came down and acknowledged that he had invited us, but totally forgot. My husband said he thought mother-in-law had a boyfriend, and then right in front of my kids, father-in-law went on a rant about "duck that guy." Him cussing in front of the kids has been an issue previously. Then mother-in-law saw the Tiffany's box and yelled father-in-law's name. "That garden implement got into my presents." Previously, I handled mother-in-law by walking out the second she ran her mouth. So I told my husband that was it, and we were going. He tried to talk me into staying, but I said I was not going to be disrespected, and I wasn't going to spend Christmas with her. My husband wanted to stay and at least rest a little and eat, and my kids wanted to play with the dog. But mother-in-law kept sighing and implying she wanted us gone. Father-in-law wasn't even that apologetic and kept caressing her and being weird, so I said we were going. Now we are in the car and my husband is annoyed and the kids are cranky. Father-in-law sent a long text about how we were in the wrong because we broke into his house, despite him giving us the key, and said I shouldn't have touched the gifts, and he just totally forgot he invited us. I'm so annoyed right now and feel the whole day has been wasted, but my husband is acting like that is my fault. You lost me at letting the kids open presents. Even if father-in-law had bought them gifts and they were from him, you were robbing him of being able to gift them and see the kids' expressions. So selfish and entitled. Mother-in-law is obviously an a-hole, but so are you. Everyone sucks here. You're the a-hole who makes plans in September and doesn't confirm closer to the date. And you opened presents not addressed to you in someone else's house? No offense, but you sound like the a-hole here. Everyone sucks here. You should have confirmed with father-in-law closer to the day. It's also very weird that you let your kids just open up some presents that weren't marked. But of course, mother-in-law shouldn't treat you the way she does, and father-in-law shouldn't swear in front of the kids. He also should have reached out to confirm the visit. Having said that, I don't blame you for driving back home immediately. Sure, everyone's pissed off, but you can't be expected to stay there while mother-in-law is disrespecting you.